So Alicia and Andy and Ashley, Julie's on, you're on, Nate is excused. Dean said if he had service, he would be able to hop on. I haven't heard from Jim. I haven't heard from Jim for a while. Kind of getting
No, I haven't
worried.
either.
Call him, see how he's doing. I haven't heard from him. But and then I don't recall hearing from Jeff on this meeting. Jeff said he'd be on the next one. So,
Okay.
but we have at least, oh, there's Ashley and Alicia. They're in the waiting. They should be popping through here in just a minute. I know Andy
Well,
said he did call me.
still have a few minutes. I've got to bring up the agenda.
And we do have the applicant for Deer Crest on, Brent and Carson. So
Okay.
we've got that ready. And then the other one's mine.
Let's see, I'm opening up for November 12th. I need November 5th, huh?
Yep. There's
That always helps.
Hello, Alicia.
Hi.
How are you? Your hair is getting long.
Oh, good.
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good.
Ashley's connecting to audio. Same with Andy. We're live on YouTube, Keith. So
Okay.
it says 1 more minute, so whenever you're ready. And we do have a quorum now that we've got the 3 ladies and you and Andy.
Okay. I'm still trying to find the agenda. Packet and meeting minutes, is this for today?
I forwarded it out again. If you need me to, I can hurry and run and go send it again. So you got
I'll find it. I don't know why it goes November 12th. Packet for tomorrow. I'll see everybody tomorrow night. Here we go, November 5th. Got it.
okay. Is that your backyard, Keith, in the background?
It is, yeah.
It looks beautiful.
Thank you.
Lush and green.
It's been paradise. It really has. Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. It's close enough to 6 o'clock. We've got our quorum and we're on Zoom or YouTube. Jill, commissioners, welcome. So we'll call this meeting into order. Do we have a volunteer for a opening prayer, reading, or expression of thought tonight?
I'll say it, Keith. This is Andy.
Thank you, Andy.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we're thankful to thee this day for the opportunity that we can gather here as commissioners of this wonderful city of Pleasant View. We ask thee at this time to watch over us this night, that we may make the choices that are best for our community. We ask thee to watch over the citizens of this community and the leaders, that they may be protected and guided. We ask thee to watch over our leaders as they transition at this time, of this wonderful time, and we ask you to watch over our military, our firefighters, and our officers. We ask you to watch over us tonight and protect us as we make our decisions. And these things we humbly ask in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you very much. The next item will be this wonderful thing that I'm required to read. Probably until November 20th of 2021, right, Bill?
Something like that. It's just going to keep on going.
It's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah. In accordance with Utah State Code Section 52-4-207, Paragraph 4, Section A, I, Keith Priest, Pleasant View City Planning Commission Chair, hereby make the following declaration: that the state of national and state emergency has been declared in response to the COVID-19 pandemic, and that Governor Herbert has extended the emergency declaration for Weber County issued on July 24th and extending to November 5th, 2020. and that the state code has been amended to allow for the conduct of electronic meetings in an emergency without an anchor location, and that the Planning Commission chair shall read or cause to be read at each electronic meeting the reasons and facts behind the declaration. And therefore, Pleasant View City Planning Commission shall hold electronic meetings as provided for in the state code. Signed by myself. Thank you very much. Okay, at this time, declaration of conflict of interest. I think everybody's had an opportunity to look at the packet and the agenda. If there are any who need to recuse themselves or declare a potential conflict, this is the time that you would do that. Okay. If not, then we'll ask for an approval of the agenda and the minutes from the October 8th and 22nd Planning Commission meeting. Do I hear a motion for an approval of the agenda
Motion to
tonight?
approve those minutes.
And the agenda?
Yes, of course, and the minutes.
And the agenda? Thanks, Commissioner Walker.
Yes, and the agenda and the minutes and all the things you just said, I will do that.
Thank you. And a second? Second, please.
I'll second it.
Thank you. All, if there are any opposed, please say aye. Okay, moving along. The first item we have, administrative, is a discussion decision, proposed preliminary subdivision, Deer Crest Phase 5, located west of 4275 North and 1100 West, 15 lots. The applicant is Carson Jones. Jill, take it away.
Okay, so we have the applicant and the owner, which Brent Hansen is on, Dane, the engineer, and Carson. So those of you that are aware of this wonderful area, which is Deer Crest, there we go. Sorry, I had someone waiting. Deer Crest, it's located, here's 4300, here's 1100. Deer Crest Phase 5 is right here. Here's the application, so you can see that it is a legit application. We do have the affidavit. Oh, I have more in the waiting room. Sorry. Hold that thought. There we go. Dean's on. Okay. So here's the layout. Here's where 4300 is. And here's, if you notice in this spot right here, there's one house and here's this lovely road. That's where it's going to connect. I'm sorry?
Are you sharing your screen?
Yeah, can you not see it?
No, I think I've got so much crap. I've got 3 screens and probably 4. Let me find you. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Hey, got it.
Okay, so if you notice right here, oh, where'd my cursor go? There's this house, and here's the road. It stubs. This is where it's going to start. It's going to continue here. This will connect to that temporary cul-de-sac that you can see right here. So it'll connect here and here. And it will, this is phase 4 right here. Oh my goodness. There we go. And so it'll connect to phase 4. And the other 2 connections, they'll have a temporary turnaround right here because down the road we'll do phase 6. They're moving
Just for
right
kicks,
along.
do you have a plat map of phases 1 through 5 together?
No, not on the slide. But if you can tell, let's see, where'd my cursor go? There it is. So here's all of Deer Crest. It's right here, up on Fellow Way, and then Fawn Drive, and then 4200. Carson, what's the other name for 4200? Isn't there another?
Elk Lane.
Yep, there we go, Elk Lane. And so all of this right here, if you've noticed, Deer Crest, different type of deer names. So all of these are part of the actual Deer Crest, all the phases. Phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and then phase 4 is right here.
That's Caribou Court.
Yep, and then phase 5 is up here. So it's just kind of stacking. And phase 5 is the top of the corner of 1100 and 4300.
Do we know when asphalt's going to be laid on 4300? Is that anytime soon?
We're working on that one. We are almost, we're getting through the final pieces of purchasing property. We're negotiating with some. So yes, we are getting closer to having all the property purchased. Then we'll do a grading plan to have it graded. So, I mean, we're in the process, we're getting there.
Carson, will that have any, well, I guess you're not up yet. I can ask. Will this have any effect on
Yes,
the development, or are we looking to have the asphalt before the development actually gets started?
the development for Deer Crest should be, for phase 5 should be going before we have asphalt for 43, correct, Carson? Because you're gonna hit the ground running.
The development for phase 5, we're planning on starting pretty rapidly. From the looks of it, we'll only have 2 lots left in phase 4 after this week, I think. So I know Hanson's are pretty adamant to get this going while we still have the market we have. So yes, we'll immediately hit these improvements and we'll be done and before spring hits.
So that
So I
dirt
think we'll
road
be
won't
done
have
long
any
before
effect on
43
your,
happens.
on the development?
Pardon?
The dirt road on 4300, will that have a negative impact on your development?
No, it won't because we have a buffer zone there. So our development, the housing lots don't touch the road right of way.
If you see this kind of striped area in the very back of the lots,
Right?
right here in between the lot and 43, that's kind of like
That's
a
a
buffer
buffer.
area. Yeah. So
Okay.
Skyline
Can you go
Drive
back to
does.
your aerial photo, Jill, please?
Yeah, you bet. Skyline Drive does affect Deer Crest in multiple phases, but phase 5, it's affecting it, but not to the point where they can't start construction.
Okay, so on that picture that you're showing, the upper left, is that part of the
Up here?
Yeah, the pit.
That's the pit. Yes.
How far to the east will that go?
They have to stay within their boundaries.
Yeah, but that's
So-
my question. Carson, do you know what their boundaries are?
Their boundaries, if you look at this little square over in the far, oh, sorry.
I'm
you
gonna
can't-
pull it up really quick so you can see. Give me 1 second. I'm gonna bring up another shot so you can actually see who owns it. So Carson kind of can
Yeah.
a little bit better. Sorry.
There-
I'm in.
Their southwest boundary is our northwest boundary.
Well, that just seems kind of crazy to me that we're putting homes that close to such a,
There we go.
I don't know how to describe it, mess. However, yesterday I was driving through Antelope Drive in West Syracuse, and I was surprised to see a big gravel pit right off of Antelope Drive.
But you did drive by the Glen Eagle Golf Course and said whoever did that development sure knocked it out of the park, huh?
It must have been you, right?
It was.
No self-aggrandizing here.
Sorry.
So is that going to be a concern, Carson, with that? I mean, I'm just asking.
That is a whole different set of issues that we need to start. Phase 5, it's not a concern. Phase 6 is not really a concern. The only concern we have with phase 6 is the Skyline Drive corridor. Phase 7, it will be a concern. So we still have some planning to do as far as that's concerned.
And Keith, if I can jump in at this point, because that was one of my
Please.
topics that I actually emailed Jill, and I know it's maybe not a full discussion, but this is a topic that has come up from planning commissions in the past as development started to go in towards that, as we talked to general plans. And I've actually had citizens that, as they've watched homes being built up there in the last couple of weeks, have approached me in the last couple of weeks and say, how are we allowing homes to be built that close? Or why are people crazy enough to build a home that close to a gravel pit? And one, we say we can't stop them, but the question is aren't they going to come and complain when the dust starts flying, the noise is there, and it starts rattling their houses, because it rattles our houses down here sometimes below. And so I just, as long as it doesn't come back to hinder us at the city level, because some of the, you know, you're saying I built it, they knew it was there, but what criteria do we have, or what responsibility do we have to, I don't want to say protect them, but make sure that they understand that that is going to take place. Their houses will rattle.
Thanks, Andy. I was going to ask Bill a similar question. Is the city, are there any liability issues with the pit being so close to residential?
So what we've got here is the classic case of two competing and maybe even disparate kinds of uses that are in connection to each other. I would also say that just immediately to the north of this property is the 4300 Ranch property, and they regularly run cattle out on that property, and all of that entails, including smells and odors and noises associated with a cattle operation. Anytime that you have any two property owners that are in proximity to each other, there are going to be disputes over who's in charge of what and who's able to do what with their property. The gravel pit is there. It was there when the Hansons bought the property, and when Jones and Associates started, not Jones and Associates, I'm sorry, Carson, Blackburn Jones and the Jones Group started developing this out, 20 years ago. They knew what they were getting into, I guess is what I'm saying, and they felt like this was the right place for a development of this nature. It hasn't affected the property values up there. We're still seeing those continue to rise, and we're seeing a demand for lots in that area, which is why we're considering an additional phase now.
I guess my question to you, Bill, would be, why didn't the city put a larger buffer around the gravel pit?
Well, it's for a couple of reasons. First off, I wanted to address the question of whether or not the city is responsible for disturbances or other things like that. And the short answer is no, the city is not. The city is responsible for enforcing our codes, and we have codes against fugitive dust and against excess noises. But if you move into an industrial area or a gravel pit or up next to a pig farm or any of those kinds of things, you kind of know what you're getting into, and caveat emptor on that, right? On the other hand, there are people who need and deserve and are entitled to quiet use and enjoyment of their property. And so balancing that ability for a property owner to do with their property what they want is the conditional uses and the nuisance ordinances that the city has in place governing things like noise and fugitive dust and any of those kinds of things that could pose a problem from someone just enjoying a backyard barbecue. They are, some of these lots are along the 4300 North, and for a while, they're going to have a similar disruption in their life that many others in the cities have, with gravel trucks going past their backyards. Again, that's something that's not new in the city. We've heard that complaint before, and we've also tried to find haul routes and other ways for the gravel pit to get their product to market. We haven't been successful in any of that. So they get to use our roads according to the legal parameters of using the codes. And we've set up some guidelines and restrictions for that. And so if it's good for the people that are here now, and it's debatable whether it is or not, but if it is what it is, then it is what it is. And we have to kind of deal with things as they are. Is it ideal? No. I worked up in Morgan County where we had a guy that was looking to continue operations at a gravel pit that had been kind of dormant for a little while. And I'm here to tell you that gravel pits have a chokehold, if you'll forgive the expression, on the legislature, and they have a powerful lobby, and it's extreme. And we want to make sure that we want to make sure that everybody's playing within their own sandbox. And we're governed a lot by state codes, by MSHA, by OSHA, by truck restrictions and all kinds of things. But it is a concern, and that's why the city has requested a buffer there. And the buffer will stay in place. What the buffer will do and how that will help is not entirely clear at this point. But the real answer, and we all know this, is to get Skyline Drive finished off the hill to the west, and so that it doesn't have to go down this road. But that brings a whole in itself, because putting a haul road in, a Skyline Drive type road in, is going to affect other lots and other people as you take it further off and down and to the west. So it's kind of it's a tough situation. There are things in place to answer the question. There are things in place, and the city has put in place, as well as MSHA and OSHA and all these other places, where we look at things like fugitive dust, like noises and other nuisance kinds of things, and we try to mitigate as much as possible the impact of having residential next to a gravel pit. But at the end, you bought a house next to a gravel pit, and just like the people in Morgan County, I'm really sorry. My heart aches for you, and I would never have done it. But I want to tell you one more thing, and if there's anybody listening on YouTube or anyone ever sees this ever in the future, I want to point this out. No one has ever come to me in my entire career that has asked me what their neighbor can do on their property. They always say, hey, what can I do on my property? They've never come and looked over their fence and said, hey, that looks like a gravel pit over there. I might not want to put my $1 million house next to a gravel pit. They never do that. I don't know why. Dean probably does. Dean's raising his hand.
We're kind of discussing a moot point that's already done on a state level. And there's plenty of examples along the Wasatch Front where people are building multi-million-dollar homes next to the gravel pits from North Salt Lake all the way down through Lehigh. It's really irrelevant to what we're talking about.
You're absolutely right, Dean. And the discussion isn't whether or not this is allowed. The question, I understood the question to be, how do we mitigate the impact of one on the other so that the residents don't all complain about the gravel pit and the gravel pit is able to continue their operations without posing too big of an impact or getting in the way of people enjoying a backyard barbecue. And
Well, I think that's what Andy was bringing the question up. And if I can piggyback again off, it was, we all understand what we're buying into, right? We buy our lots, we see what's around us, we buy into it. And then we say, well, that's fine. We have a gravel pit, but 2 years down the road now, we don't like the vibration, we don't like the dust, we don't like the dirt. And suddenly it's the city's fault why they're not happy in their home because there's a gravel pit. So that's the only concern. I get what Dean is saying. I mean, the thing does speak for itself.
Keith,
sure,
may I
go
ask
ahead.
a question?
Yes.
My only question is everything that you guys are saying is 100% correct. Most people don't look into the future to see what possibly could happen if you build your nice expensive home next to something. And the city, I think, to kind of go along with what Bill is saying, I think the city's responsibility in any situation is to make sure that you meet all the conditions in our standards and everything else, engineering requirements for safety and things like that. The city has broad discretion as far as safety is concerned. But if we have looked at the situation and approved as a subdivision or zone or whatever else, and as long as we make sure that the developer and builders meet those conditions, the city's not, that the liability doesn't hinge on the city's responsibility whatsoever. As long as they can meet those safety conditions that the council and the city has set up as part of what would be, protecting every side, then the city's good. If they chose to build there, that's really their decision. And, yes, then the city has to deal with complaints because that's what the city does, but that's really none of, yeah, as long as we've met the conditions and the standards, we're good.
Right.
So-
No,
I just wanted to point out also for the record that there are no gravel pits in Riverdale. So
Yeah, but you've got other things.
Uh,
So, Keith, just putting it out there.
Okay,
We've had to have geotech tests done. I mean, we do a lot of background, with making sure everything's the way we need to have it. And I would hope that, it speaks for Brent and Carson. They don't want to have a product where it's not safe for those people that would end up living there. So, I mean, as a city, we've done everything that we can do to protect and make sure everything's done accurately. Hopefully, those people that want to buy those lots do their diligence, and go up and drive around and listen. And I mean, it is a beautiful area. I drive up there quite often for other things, and it is actually a very beautiful area. And hopefully that people that do buy the lots are aware and are diligent and pay attention. And if they know, then it shouldn't be surprised if they hear things throughout their time living there. So
I
hopefully
agree.
that they do that aspect.
Okay, commissioners, any questions for staff or the developer since we got all on?
Julie,
I've got a question for Carson, and this really doesn't probably affect us in our decision making tonight. It's more of a question on building. When you are building in an area such as that we know the blasting can sometimes shift ground, affect foundations. Do you do anything different in the foundation or the building process to really try and make those foundations more secure so you don't have that shifting?
Let me start out by saying I live in Deer Crest. I live here, so I know very well what it's like. And honestly, no disrespect to anybody else or any comment that has been made here tonight, I don't feel vibration. I don't feel seismic events. I don't feel what I'm hearing is being felt. And I honestly don't really even hear it unless the fog's thick. If it's thick fog and then I can hear it operating. So what we do when we build these is we go by our geotech report. We go and we dig holes all over, and we get down to a depth of around 20 feet, which is about as deep as anybody would ever go there. And then we do 2-foot increment testings to find out exactly what kind of substrate we have. We find out exactly the types of soils and the conditions that are required. And then in that report, it tells us exactly what we need to do with our footings, with our foundations, with our retaining walls, with our drainage, with everything. It is spelled out exactly how to build that, and it takes the surrounding ground into account. So yes, we absolutely account for everything that we do and the surrounding ground around us when we're building in these.
Yeah, thank you for educating me on that. When I was up that way last, there are 2 homes going in to the west, much
Phase
more
4.
west.
Yep.
Yes. So
You'll see about 15 more starting. Well,
about
more
15 more
starting here.
starting. Okay.
A couple of more.
Jill, when we were looking at the plan, is there on this size of subdivision, or what are the requirements for water retention, detention? Is there something going in, and where is it?
Okay, so here's the layout of the subdivision.
Okay.
With Deer Crest, they have, if you can see, here's 1100, and see this yellow outline? This is where the detention pond is. And there's a little panhandle looking right there. That's the way that's our access point, so we can get in and get that, you know, taken care of, make sure everything's good. They have enough in that detention pond for all phases. So from phase 1 to the very end, they have enough in that pond, and everything would be put to that pond and taken care of before it goes into the system.
That looks like a sizable area.
It's huge.
Huge area, about 4.5 acres.
So I'm trying to picture it. You said it's up 1100.
Yep. So here's a different picture of it. Let's see. Let me show this one. So that way you guys can have two different aerials of it. So here's that huge orchard. Here's 1100. Here's the canal. If you go on that first road right after the canal,
yes,
you'll see it. It's right here.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
It's a pretty good size.
Yeah.
If I don't say so myself. It's big.
Actually, it's kind of nice right there. If by chance it did overflow, it looks like it would be flowing into the canal then, right?
Yeah.
Right below it.
But I highly doubt it will ever overflow.
No, I'm sure it wouldn't, but you know, sometimes homes below detention ponds are worried about, in the rare 100-year event. That one's kind
Go
of
ahead,
nice.
Carson. I think you want to address this.
I do want to address that. This basin is actually sized for the 100-year storm. So it has the capability to operate as a retention basin, not only a detention basin if needed.
Yes, it's big. I mean, they've designed it big enough
Enormous.
to take
It's a
care
big
of all
basin.
phases.
Well, way to go, Carson.
Hey, thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, any further questions or comments for the applicant or staff?
Keith, I have a question. I didn't pick up on that buffer between 4,300 and the backyards of the homes. Can you, Jill, maybe expound on that, or who does that belong to? Is that an easement? Is that something we require for 4,300? Who has to take care of that, or what is that? Is that just going to become a weed fest?
Bill, I'll let you take that one.
Thanks, Jill.
You know more about Skyline than I'm getting caught up.
So Skyline Drive, Deercrest, as you know, as a development, came in under a development agreement that required a certain percentage of open space. When that original document was approved, and I've actually got it here on my desk, it's folded. You can't really see it. It's a big paper. If you wanted to have a look at this, it's actually kind of cool to look at. It's like looking back in time. This does date to 2005. So whatever you were doing in 2005, I know what Carson was doing in 2005, and it was this. They had a requirement to give a certain amount of open space, and it made sense back then because this again was anticipated to be a haul road, that they put a buffer in there. I believe there's a berm slated for that too. Carson, am I remembering right?
That is correct.
So that would provide a little bit of a visual and a sound barrier buffer, kind of a thing between the road and people's backyards. In part of the negotiation for this and with Skyline Drive and other things, we kind of went back and forth a little bit on whether or not we should keep that, because again, if it's not a haul road, maybe it's not needed or necessary. But ultimately, we decided collectively to stick with the original development agreement and just go forward with this particular phase, with the understanding that there would be a small amount of open space dedicated with this phase, and that it would provide this buffer going forward. It is to be dedicated to the HOA and maintained as common area / open space in the HOA. And so, again, because Carson lives there, if it needs to be mowed, we can go knock on his door and ask him to go mow it.
I do it often.
What's the width? What's the width of that, Bill?
It's 20 feet, if I'm not mistaken.
And is it going to be grass, Carson, or is it just going to be dirt for now? Or is it going to be up to the HOA?
It depends on Skyline Drive at this point. So if the point comes and Skyline Drive never materializes, then it will be an HOA parcel after we record. If we get something worked out with Skyline Drive, then we'll see what comes of it then.
Okay, all right. Andy, did that answer your question?
Yes, I guess I just didn't know that was part of the green belt, because I know that I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Carson isn't part of the retention basin, part of that green belt, or the green, not green belt, but the green.
The common area.
Yes.
Yeah, that was one of the major stumbling blocks, was people accepting that as part of the green
Open
area.
space.
So yeah, the open space. I don't know how you can have an open space as your retention unless we're mowing it and putting a playground in there, but that was back then. So, but that could look nice. That could be a very nice buffer if that's all mowed and right alongside the Skyline Drive. So that actually could be a nice feature. I really, really would appreciate that.
I would love to make it work well on all parties. So that's what we're working towards.
You will. I have confidence. You've dedicated a lot of your heart and soul into this area. So whatever happens up there, I know it'll be in your best interest to have it in the best interest of the city and the homeowners. So
I want to say,
I hope that the city thinks that same way. I really do, because I feel that way.
I want to say for the record that Carson and Brent and the whole team over there have been really good and responsive to city's requests for additional information. New things have come up as we've delved into this, and it's things that no one anticipated being a concern or an issue. But as we got into it, it kind of appeared, and they've been very, very accommodating to the city and just really good to work with in general. And Carson in particular has been very good at responding to city's needs and concerns, and he's been a valuable partner in this, and we're grateful for his efforts and for the patience on the Hansons and everybody making sure we had what we need so we can make a good decision.
okay, thank you.
Appreciate that, Bill. Thank you.
So if there's no further discussion, then we'll entertain a motion to, is this to forward the city?
It's to
to
recommend.
council?
Yes,
Okay.
recommend.
And we'll entertain a
Bill?
motion to,
Before that, apparently no comments from other citizens.
oh, thank you.
Or,
Thank you,
or
Jordan.
do we have anybody online who is making comments?
We have someone that was struggling to hop in to the live stream. We have 5 people watching, but no comments at this time.
Hey, thank you. Okay, sorry, Bill.
And it's actually not a public hearing, so.
No, I just, if people are texting a comment, I would want to hear it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
We want to count every vote in this election, right? Every vote deserves to be counted.
Not every
Motion
vote.
to
around here,
approve
every comment.
recommendation.
Sorry, is that too soon? Sorry.
As long as they're not pre-planted.
We're done in Sharpie.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
Okay. With that, we'll entertain a motion to approve or deny the application of the proposed preliminary subdivision Deer Crest Phase 5, located at west of 4275 North and 1100 West, 15 lots.
I remind you just really quick, this is a recommendation to the city council.
That's what I said.
I
That's absolutely what you
motion
said.
that to yes. All of
I
those
second
words.
it.
Thank you. Woo!
Hey, we have a motion and a second. Any opposed, say aye. Okay, congratulations. The motion goes forward to city council. Thanks, Carson.
Thank you. Appreciate
And
it.
Brent, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Okay, Brent, Dane, and Carson, I will send you guys an email either first thing tonight, if I can remember, if not, first thing in the morning.
Perfect. Thank you,
Okay.
Jill. Appreciate it. And thanks, Bill. I think this might be the last city council or planning commission that we sit through with you. And I've definitely appreciated all your hard work and everything you've done for us and the city. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Carson. It's been a
Bring
privilege.
up phase 6 right now, if you'd like. Bill's still here.
Yes. Let's get that thing approved right now. We have about 800 hours to go.
There you go. Okay, all right. Thanks again, everyone. We'll
Thanks,
move on
guys.
to legislative. This is a discussion decision for a proposed zone change from MUE to C-2 on parcel 17-063-0029.
Do you want me to
Jill?
explain before you open a public hearing?
Yeah, we're not in public hearing, but I'm turning it to you to explain.
All right. To prove that I am human,
Uh,
sorry.
You don't need to
Yeah.
prove, we know that.
Jill made an UBU and there was one typo on all of those parcels, one typo. I did the wrong parcel number. I was off by one. So here's the parcel. It's down to corner of 600 and 2550. We're doing this part to make sure we do this correctly because that's what Pleasant View likes to do. Make sure we do things right. And change it to fit the master plan, which would be general commercial, which we felt C2 would be a good option for that one. I did actually talk to the owner and explain to him, you know, what happened, what I did, and kind of what the plan is going forward that we were hoping for, depending on with the rezone. And he said, okay, well, that sounds great. He was fine with it. So, yeah. Sorry, guys.
So I really feel embarrassed. What is an MUE?
MUE is kind of a mixed use type of zone, but it has a lot of industrial in it. Industrial type uses. That's why we wanted to change it from an MUE to a more commercialized without as many mixed use and industrial uses.
Yeah, I gotta be honest, in all the discussions we've had, I don't ever remember discussing an MUE. Doesn't mean we haven't, I just don't remember it.
It's not one that we use very often.
May
Sorry.
I ask a question, Keith?
Sure.
So Jill, just to clarify, this is something that they already approved, but it was just a mix up with the parcel numbers. Is that correct?
Yep, the idea on this one was approved. However, it's not legitimate because I did a UBU, I typoed the
Okay.
parcel number.
I was just,
So do we just have to say we motion to approve this new non-typoed thing?
So-
I make a motion that we open a public hearing at this time to take comments.
Thank you, Andy. That's what I was going to recommend.
Well, but I was gonna ask if there's any questions for staff before doing so. But since the motion's been made, do I hear a second?
Dean gave a second.
Thanks, Commissioner Cummings. Any opposed, say aye. Okay, we're now into a public hearing. Comments, concerns, questions? I guess my question to you, Jill, is this being fixed tonight, the boo-boo that you're talking about?
So I noticed it correctly. What happened was on the parcel, I had the parcel number except for the very last number. I accidentally put a 7 instead of a 9. So with all the other meetings. So this one, we found it when it went through city council. So we sent the new notice out with the correct parcel number. And so we're going through the motion to make it correct.
Okay, perfect. That was my question. So what we're doing tonight is on the straight and narrow.
The correction, and it's a legit number.
So basically, it's just an administrative correction.
Yes, but we have to make
That
sure.
has already been approved, but we're making sure that legally everything has fallen into line.
So
Okay,
if there's no comments from the public, then we can close it.
And
That's
I'm
correct.
looking and there are no comments on YouTube.
So I'll make a
All my
motion.
question was.
I'll make a motion that we close the public hearing.
We
I'll
have a
second
motion. Do we have a
that.
second?
I'll
Thank you.
second that motion.
All opposed, say aye. Okay, public hearing is now closed. Any other comments, commissioners, or you want to just move right on to, I guess this is a
The
recommendation to
recommendation.
State Council?
I'll
Or
motion
is
to
it-
approve recommendation.
We do go to City
You keep
Council, Bill?
laughing at me.
Yes.
Oh. Okay, we have a motion to recommend to City Council on the proposed zone change. Do we have a second?
I'll second that.
Thank you, Commissioner Farr. Are there any opposed? Okay, motion is made. Thank you very much. Other business, commission communications. I have a question. Dean, are you still with us?
I see him.
There he is.
He's in a
Are
duck
you
blind.
involved, are you involved in any way on the administrative item number 1? Dean? Yes?
I'm in.
No?
I don't even know what that is.
The item
What
number
is-
1 was Deer Crest.
Deer Crest? Nothing?
No.
Okay,
Nothing.
I just, because Jill, when it was all done, she thanked Brent and Dean and
Oh,
Dane.
Dane.
Carson.
Dane.
That was Dane.
Dane.
Dane is,
Oh,
Dane
thank
is
you.
Dane
Brent's
and Dean
son,
are
actually.
pretty dang close.
Well, and I know Dean is a developer, so I just want to make sure we're not getting into trouble, so thank you.
Nope.
I'd like to bring up another comment, if I could, in regards to conflicts of interest. Commissioners, we can get into a lot of trouble if we are involved with a developer in any way, shape, or form, or a property owner in any way, shape, or form on a motion that comes to the Planning Commission without divulging that information publicly. So that's why we make this declaration. We ask if there's any conflicts to please divulge at the beginning of the meeting. So in the middle or at the end, we don't have something that comes up as an owie. So please pay attention to the agenda, and if it's something that affects you personally in any way, shape, or form, whether it's financially or with relatives or whatever the case may be, just make your declaration so it's on the public record. Okay? Is that fair? I guess that's fair. All right. The only thing that I have before we turn to staff is and we can do this at the end as well, but I am so very grateful for Bill and for his professionalism, for his friendship, for his holding our hands and helping us stay out of trouble and helping us get the city in the direction that the mayor and city council and citizens want to go. So Bill, congratulations. Godspeed. You will be missed. Thank you for all that you've done. And all I can say is Riverdale's got a good man to head him up. And I'm sorry that you're going to Riverdale because it's a mess. Actually, I think it's a great opportunity for you. I was thinking after you and I was talking, Riverdale Road is the thoroughfare from not just west Interstate 15 to Ogden, but all the way from Salt Lake and Bountiful. And I mean, people head north, and if they've got to go to Ogden, it's Riverdale Road. So it's a very, very busy thoroughfare. But you're the right man to get them going the right place. You'll be missed. Thank you for all you've done.
Thank you.
And Bill, if you get discounts on crumble cookies, will you be sure and pass them on?
Sign me up.
That's funny. I was in the office the other day and they had a box of crumble cookies. And I got to be honest, I'm not a big fan. I much prefer twisted sugar. I'm Pleasant View that way, but crumble cookies are good, especially those those big, thick sugar cookies with a pink frosting that are just,
They don't cook them enough. They're doughy
Oh,
inside.
so here we go. We got to divulge that conflict of interest. Bill, we expect you to bring us a box of cookies.
Nobody works there. You can't gain from it.
well,
Wait, what do we have down in the station? That's not a crumble. What is that?
It's twisted sugar.
Down on
Twisted sugar.
Parkland, it's twisted sugar. You can't go wrong with cookies.
It is so good. Keith, have you never had
They're
it?
good.
I have had. I can't tell the difference between crumble and twisted.
Oh, I
sugar.
can.
They seem the same to me.
Okay, tell you what, when we actually meet together, whenever that is, I will bring you some twisted sugar cookies or some type of cookie that's not made from home.
And we'll hit Bill up for
So
crumble.
good.
Bill.
Okay,
Okay. We'll turn the last item then to staff communications and training.
okay. I just wanted to kind of go over a couple of things. I figured every once in a while we'll just bring up something just to keep refreshing. One, conflict of interest. If you're not sure what that means, it's you're in a situation where either you as an individual are going to benefit or have something connected to a project, which it is not a bad thing. I mean, we have Dean, who's a developer, Jeff works with EK Bailey and a developer. I mean, you got Nate, who's an engineer, and Keith, you work with the church. And
Right.
it's not a bad thing if your project comes up and you have to say, I've got a conflict, I'm stepping off on this agenda or this item. And that's okay. We rather have it be on the books, and that way we're clear and we're totally fine with that. Okay, so just
Actually,
make sure.
Jim,
Go ahead.
just your 2 cents, just my 2 cents. If you don't declare your conflict, you could actually go before the State Board of Ethics and get in a lot of trouble.
So
This happened before. Hasn't this happened before? Am I like conflict of interest? That's how some certain things were passed that maybe weren't supposed to be passed. I'm just wondering if that's happened before. You know what I'm saying? Know what I'm saying?
I think we've had a few iffies that I'm aware of.
So what I'm really trying to push is it's okay if you have one. We just want it set, just so we're covered on the whole aspect.
So
Okay.
wasn't my
It was
5-minute
perfect.
dialogue adequate?
It was. I just have it on my list, so I'm marking it off. So,
Perfect. Thank you.
so between you and I, we covered it, and yes. So really
It
quick,
protects the city and it protects you as a planning commission.
yes, and that's what we want. We want everything done right. So really quick on the motions, just to kind of, there was no issues. I just figured we'll hurry and go through this so we can remember what's what. When we make motions is when we're approving or recommending. The things that you would recommend to city council: rezones, subdivisions, and ordinance changes or adding that would pertain to the land use. So that way, those are the things you would recommend. Site
So would it
plan.
be hard for you in the administrative to just put in parentheses recommendation or denial to city council, or
I can easily
or
do
do I
that.
just, if I say it's legislative, do I know that it's automatically city council? Not necessarily, right?
Not all the administrative would be approvals. For example, Deercrest was an administrative item. That would have been a recommendation. So that's what I'll do. I'm more than happy to do that. That's an easy thing.
You're wonderful. That way I don't have to ask the stupid question because I should know, but.
You're fine. And then when we have those people that can make motions, we do have 7 commissioners and 2 alternates. And if we don't have all 7, those alternates come up to be one of the commissioners, which is totally fine, great. We love that. That's why we have those alternates, because we know life happens and not everyone can be there. So if we have everyone there, the alternates cannot make a motion. But if we're short, they can actually come up. So for example, Julie, you can make motions because Nate is gone. You kind of covered his position. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So-
So at the beginning of the meeting, when
Mhm.
you were saying we have enough for a quorum, can you kind of spell that out?
Yes.
At the beginning, so
Yes.
that those of us who are alternates from the beginning, we know
Ahead of time?
ahead of time what
Yes.
what our role
Yes.
could be.
And
Oh,
go ahead.
Oh, I was sorry. That brought up another question I had just because I'm new. Say on the approval of minutes,
Mhm.
right? If you weren't there at that meeting, if you were excused, then you shouldn't be approving or seconding the minutes, should you? Because
Correct.
you're not able to read it and say, yeah, that's what went on in that meeting, right?
Correct. And normally, and Keith can vouch, because I used to make little notes and put it where he sits. We have to have at least a certain amount of people that were there at the meeting to be at the current meeting in order to be able to approve those minutes, or else we'd have to hold them.
Okay.
So, and another thing, alternates can be part of the conversation if we have everyone there. I encourage it because that way you have different perspectives. But yes, I will let you know. If I don't know if anybody is going to make it or not make it, I won't let you. I'll tell you, you won't be an alternate unless I notice more people are hopping on. And then if you make a motion, I'll just raise my hand and say, okay, wait, we have enough now. But that's why
If I could ask to go along with that, Jill,
Mhm.
if we could, we don't need to be bashful or shy here. I mean, when we ask for a motion, I can't make a motion.
No.
That's one of the things that I got myself in trouble over. So I'm relying on you good planning commissioners to make a motion in a second, and then we can vote. But so like some of these things tonight were pretty cut and dry. I asked for entertain a motion and there's a minute and nobody says anything. So just don't be bashful. Just be.
Because we have to push the unmute button. Takes time.
And I want to say, in addition to what Keith is saying, that even if you don't like the motion, even if you're going to vote no, you can still second and get the discussion and then have your vote and your say or further discussion after or on the motion or whatever additional questions or concerns. That's not the end of it. It just means that we're ready to move on maybe to a vote. And so there's no, you don't have, just because you second a motion doesn't mean you're even going to vote in favor of it.
Yeah.
And you can
So
even offer.
Usually I'll ask after the motion and second, is there any further discussion?
Right.
Just in case somebody wants to throw something else in there before the vote goes forward. So,
And even if the motion is, even if the motion doesn't pass, you can then, that doesn't mean that the situation is over, even the conversation, you can then remake a different motion to, I mean, your ability to make motions are endless here, really. There's something that says you can't keep going. If you don't like how the motion's going, you can make another one. And as long as you get a second, there has to be a vote and a discussion. There has to be. If there's a second, that motion has to be addressed, period.
and I've seen that happen before as well. And thank you, Sarah, for bringing that out. There might be a motion that comes forward and it doesn't pass, and a member of the commission will make a motion that's contrary to the first, and it will pass. So that's fine. That's how government works.
Keith, is it the bylaw that the chairman cannot make a motion?
Yes.
it is.
Okay.
Mayors can't make motions. He can ask for motions. And so I don't know if it's the same with planning commission, but mayor and city council cannot make a motion. He can ask for a motion and he only gets to vote if there's a tie. That's it.
But on ours,
Yeah.
the chairman is supposed to vote. He just can't make a motion.
Correct. So,
We
and
need a motion before he calls for us to make a motion.
He can ask for one, but he can't make a motion.
right, he can't
Right.
ask and he can't second, but
No, like
For
say I'm
example-
getting impatient for some reason. I don't know. I never get impatient. But say I'm getting impatient, people are repeating themselves and I say, I motion to. Can I do that or do I have to
Sure.
wait?
You can make a
No.
motion anytime as long as the chairman recognizes you. If he doesn't recognize you, then your motion dies unless somebody seconds you.
Okay.
and
I just don't know.
we-
Sometimes I'm just sitting there waiting and we talk about the same thing a few times and I'm like, okay, Keith, let's get it going. We're talking about the same stuff. I don't know if anyone else thinks that. It's probably
You're
just me.
funny, Ashley.
And you can make a motion as long as Keith's here. So a vice chair, you can make the motion, you can second it. But if Keith's not here, you step in as the chair. So that would be the only time you wouldn't be able to.
Well, I sometimes hesitate to make a motion because I'm trying to count out how many people are there and if it's, you know,
Yeah, you're fine.
if I'm okay.
One more.
saying it.
One more thing with the motions. We need to make sure we are clear and exact of what we're wanting. For example, if the staff report says we recommend approval along with these conditions, if you just say we recommend approval, then it drops the conditions and it's just the approval. So if you want something along with the approval, you need to specifically say it. You don't have to state every condition if there's a list. You can say, for example, I remember Andy did it not that long ago, approve along with the conditions that's recommended by staff or on the staff, you know. If there's specific things you want it spelled out, you need to make sure you state that in your motion.
And that usually comes up with a conversation, right? So
Right.
as we're talking about things and we look at your list and cities approved and recommended, but they want this done, this done, this done, we'll throw those recommendations into the motion. And if there's something else that we've discussed that should also be included, please include that as well.
Yes, because we want to make sure it's stated, and then if it's recommending to city council, we want those recommendations that you guys gave along with the approval or along with the denial, whichever one you guys decided, to go along with it so they understand what specific things you were looking at. Does that kind of help?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Clear
Thank
some
you.
of the things?
Jill,
Mhm.
like we had talked about a few minutes ago about a clarification of what's going to the city council or needs to go. And sometimes maybe there's a hesitancy, I know on my part, because I'm like, I don't know how to say it or where it should be going. So on your planning commission staff report where you've got that recommendation, can you write that out? Like the city engineer and planning department recommend approval going on to the city council.
It does.
We
with
can write in
recommend-
a model motion.
So,
Yeah, kind of. Maybe that's cheating. I'm on my part of wanting it a little more spelled out or written out. But that would
so
be helpful.
on the staff report, I'm putting what we recommend to you guys, but on the agenda, like Keith was saying, it will say recommend to city council or
Okay.
to approve or deny.
So on the agenda. Okay,
So-
back on the agenda.
If you're worried about saying a certain motion, you can, if you want to recommend what the engineer and the city planning, the planning department are recommending, you can read it right off of your staff report. That's one thing I make sure we spell out very specifically. Which next week, well, hopefully tomorrow, you will be getting a staff report for next week on our special meeting, and it will actually spell out, this is, I'm spelling specific things out, and it will show you what conditions that they've met that you guys have gone through. So this next staff report, you'll see a little bit more versus and compared to what we've been talking about, and you can see the difference.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that's
And
all
thanks
my
for the
training.
training. It's nice to have a refresher course on proper etiquette of motions and I'm like you, Julie, a lot of times you'll notice I'll just go right back to the agenda item and read it verbatim. That's the safe way. So if you're making a motion, just read the agenda and there you go. Okay, anybody have anything else?
Motion to adjourn.
Wait, I have something I want to say, Dean. Sorry. I won't make this lengthy. I promise. I'm not one for speeches anyway, but good try anyway, Dean. My first foray into city governance was when I was in architecture school about 15 years ago. And I attended a planning commission meeting in Pleasant Grove. I was living in Orem at the time, and Pleasant Grove had a meeting that fit my schedule. And so I went and popped in, and man, I was riveted. This was America. And I know that sounds a little bit silly or goofy or whatever, but you know, I'm a firm believer, and I always have been my whole life, that government governs best at the lowest possible level. And that maybe sounds weird, but you know what I mean. The closest to the people is where government happens best. And I saw it that night. It was the proverbial little old lady who got up and said, I don't want this subdivision of land to go in next to my property. And she was sweet, but she was forceful. And her thought carried the day. There were some questions and concerns that were not answered, and she brought them up and said, I want this figured out before we proceed. And obviously it's something that I've never forgotten. I was hooked. I wondered what happened to that poor lady. She's old enough now that she's probably not even around, but bless her, she made a difference in the world and on me. And it was awesome to see. And I have seen that repeated countless times, and it happens here at the Planning Commission. One of the things I'm a little bit sad about going to Riverdale is that I'm probably not going to be as involved with the Planning Commission as I have been in other places. And that is a tough thing for me, because you guys are awesome. What you do, you're not elected, you're not paid. Well, you're paid a little bit, but it's not even worth mentioning. It's something that I love and admire you for what you do. I really do, truly, deeply, with my heart. You guys are the glue that holds the community together. And it's not something that I say lightly. I have seen this in multiple cities, in multiple states. You guys, the Planning Commission, and you guys in particular, you guys are such a good group. There's no infighting, there's no weirdness, there's none of that. You just come in and you do your job, and it's awesome. I have so much love and respect for you. And it has been something over the last 4 years that we have come to really know each other. Late nights, long meetings, arguments, discussions into the late hours. And it's been something that has been formative to me. And I'm grateful for you, for your patience with me, for your love and your kindness. These years that I've been in Pleasant View have been, and I do this every time, have been some of the best experiences and best times of my life, and some of the hardest things I've gone through. And I feel like you guys have gone through them with me. And it's something that I love you for, and I'm grateful for it. It's been an honor to serve you and serve with you, and the residents of Pleasant View are truly well served by having you work with them and for them and go to bat for them on all of these issues, standing up to developers, taking the arguments, taking the pitchforks and torches. And it's, yeah, you guys are awesome. And thank you for what you've given me and my little family. Thank you for the trust and the love and the confidence, and it's a big thing, and I appreciate it.
Thank you, Bill. Godspeed to you. We love you and appreciate you, and hopefully our paths will cross many more times.
I'm sure they will.
Okay. Motion to adjourn.
Thank you.
Oh,
Bill.
I can't make a motion. Sorry.
Hi.
After all
Second.
that.
Actually, I think Dean already made the motion a while ago. Do we have a second? Thank you all. Appreciate everything.
Thanks, everybody.
All right, take care.
Thanks, Bill. See you guys.
Thanks,
We'll
Bill.
see you around town,
Bye,
everybody.
guys.